So, to help understand a bit what's going on in the book of Ezra, this is from Wikipedia. The rebuilding of the Jewish community in Jerusalem had begun under Cyrus the Great, the Persian, who had permitted the Jews held captive in Babylon to return to Jerusalem and rebuild Solomon's temple. Remember, the Babylonians had destroyed it, and so the second temple is built by the community that returns from Babylon. Consequently, a number of Jews returned to Jerusalem in 538 BC, and the foundations of this second temple, the foundation was laid in 536 BC, in the second year of their return, Ezra 3:8. After a period of strife, the temple was finally completed in the sixth year of Darius, 516 BC. But there are some arguments as to the dating of this. At any rate, keep in mind a couple things. Remember that the northern kingdom of Israel is invaded in 721 BC by the Assyrians, who deport the Israelites from there and send in forced settlers who occupy the territory of the northern kingdom, which is called Ephraim, typically in the Bible, or Samaria. So these Samaritans or Ephraimites who live in the northern kingdom are there, and the followers of God the Father have been mostly exiled. But we are told in 2 Kings 17, which we read a few days ago, that God allowed this to happen to punish the people of God because they had been worshiping false gods, mixing in idolatrous worship along with the worship of God the Father. So this will help explain what happens here in the chapter of Ezra that we're reading today. The people in Jerusalem who are rebuilding the temple and rebuilding the walls of the city, which had been destroyed by the Babylonians, are approached by a group from Samaria or Ephraim, the northern kingdom. And they say, hey, we worship the same God as you do. We've been worshiping him ever since we moved into the northern kingdom, ever since the Assyrians sent us in. We've been worshiping your God, among others, you see. We want to be with you to build this temple and worship with you. And Ezra and the others say, no way, Jose. You have no part in this. Now, this is explained, correctly or not, I'm not sure, but it's certainly explained if you go to Bible Hub. One of the commentaries on Bible Hub, Barnes' Notes on the Bible, they give a gloss on ye have nothing to do with us, which is what the members of the Samaritans were told. Because the Samaritans had united idolatrous rites with the worship of Yahweh, God the Father, 2 Kings 17, 29 through 41, to have allowed them a share in restoring the temple would have been destructive of all purity of religion. They also say, as King Cyrus commanded us. So, in fact, if we go and look at how it actually appears, well, I'm getting a call, so hang on. Okay, sorry about that. So let's take a look at what actually is said in Ezra, Ezra 4:3. This is the response to the Samaritans. But Zerubbabel, Joshua, and the rest of the heads of the families of Israel answered, you have no part with us in building a temple to our God. We alone will build it for the Lord, the God of Israel, as King Cyrus, the king of Persia, commanded us. This is after Cyrus is gone, and there's a new king in Persia, Artaxerxes. There's some argument among scholars whether it's Artaxerxes the first or second, but either way, the Samaritans are angry that they've been prevented from participating in the rebuilding of Jerusalem with their neighbors in the south, the Jews. And so they write to Artaxerxes and they say, hey, you can't trust them. This is what they're doing. And Artaxerxes says, guess what? You're right. I had my advisors look into it. You can't trust anybody from Jerusalem. And they used to be very powerful back in the days of David and Solomon. And I'm not going to take the chance of letting them refortify their city. So all construction has to stop until Artaxerxes is gone. Now, we happen to be reading today Luke 15, the prodigal son. And of course, one of the interesting things about the prodigal son is the reaction of the older brother, who doesn't like the fact that the younger brother has gotten away with being a prodigal, squandered his father's resources on prostitutes. And when he comes back, the father makes a big fuss, kills the fatted calf. Well, this is jealousy, this is envy, which is kind of what's going on in Ezra. Now, the claim that the Jews don't want anybody from Samaria helping them, this kind of explains the long bad blood and enmity between the Jews and the Samaritans after the long history of the two parts of Israel splitting up and so forth. I mean, the Jews did not like the Samaritans. Is it envy that Zerubbabel, who's in charge, and the others are saying, no, can't have a part in this? Or is the implication what we read in the commentary on Bible Hub, that the reason they're saying this is they don't trust that the Samaritans really are serious about worshiping one God and one God only, Yahweh, Jehovah, God the Father? I don't know. The argument is it was the right thing for them to be pushed aside. But apparently, what I gather from looking at the internet, people do argue that it was a kind of stubbornness that Zerubbabel and the others indulged in. Either way, the consequence of their denial, of their not letting the Samaritans participate, is the Samaritans, in their jealousy. I mean, a lot of ways, if you look at life, it's like spoiled kids on the playground. You guys being homeschoolers don't know what it's like to be around other kids on the playground. Well, let me tell you something. It's the same sort of thing. Jealousies. I'm going to tell on you. I'm going to get you in trouble. That playground, sandbox, politics kind of stays with us for the rest of our lives. That pettiness, which is what happens. It's a kind of envy, at least, prompts the Samaritans to reach out to Artaxerxes. So all construction stops. Anyway, question or comment or whatever you want to say. And more tomorrow, we hope.